the Y'all Show. Talk with a Southern accent. Hello, welcome in to our show as we begin another week of all things Southern. And you know what the start of a week equals. It means time to talk to the Toccopola Storyteller, and that would be our own Jerry Short. Jerry Short, how the heck are you as we start up a new week, sir?
Feels pretty good being outside,
Oh yeah,
getting out
look
of this virus.
look at you
If
right
it
there.
looks like a prison wall behind me, I may still be in parchment.
Well, we've talked before about how you have spent time behind bars, and now I don't know if you're behind them or in front of them.
Yeah, well, I mean it's good to be outside. I got birds. I got birds chirping on one side, sound like a robin. I got a couple of babies up there, they're feeding, and a few cars going by, and it's really nice to be out a while.
It is nice. Of course, we're in the South. We're an all Southern show, and that's why we're taking some time to get out in the great outdoors. Jerry Short. And last week when we had a chance to talk to you, one of the things we mentioned at one point was your clothing, including your hat. And I see you got your
Yeah.
reliable hat on. Jerry, the other day when I was killing time like everybody in the whole world's having to do right now, I started to think about a subject I don't think we've ever talked about, and I bet you, and you and I have not done prep on this subject. I bet you this means something to you when I bring this subject up, and that would be the subject of shoes.
Well, you kind of put me in a situation.
Are you wearing
Uh,
shoes?
like I wasn't like a real cowboy
Mm-hmm.
because I was more on a farm in North Mississippi.
Yeah.
But when you're on a farm, I'm gonna show you why I prefer to be a cowboy.
Okay.
When you're on a farm, like if you're hoeing cotton or you're shucking corn or you're hauling hay, this is a preferred hat. And obviously, I haven't got a haircut
Mm.
yet. This is the country hat right here.
That is what we
Now
call
then,
in modern coronavirus times. That's what we call a Tiger King hat. I don't know if you've seen
that's
that.
yeah. I don't know much about this Tiger King, but I've heard a lot of advertising. I think there's going to be a show on Fox tonight about that.
Jerry, if I didn't know any better, if I saw you walking down the street with that hat you got on right there, I'd think that you were from some other place like Australia or London coming here trying to be a country music singer.
Well, that might work if I could carry a tune.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem.
You can't carry a tune?
Uh, no, I don't know if I ever told you about. I think I was in the 10th grade, and our band in high school always got to go to all these football games around Christmas and New Year's. These all-star games like the Blue Gray and Senior Bowls and stuff. So I had a couple friends in the band, and they talked me into asking the band director if I could join. So I went down and I asked him, and he said, "You sure?" Now I know you want to play sports. You're not getting in the band for these trips we make. Or we're gonna go to Montgomery to the Blue Gray, and then we're gonna go on to Mobile to the Senior Bowl. And I said, "No, sir. But we need more people marching and playing. If you can just play a little something." And I said, "Well, these friends are gonna loan me an instrument. So what do they have?" And I said, "Well, they got a trombone. I'm gonna start with." So I went to the band hall the next day, and I carried the trombone, and it didn't take me about four notes. And he said, "Nah, that won't work. What else they got?" And I turned and I asked a friend of mine, "What else y'all got at home?" And they told me that, "How about the drums?" I asked him, I said, "How about a drum?" He said, "Bring it tomorrow. We'll try the drum." So here I am. I'm trying the drums. I can't even play a drum.
Gosh.
And the band director looks at me and he said, I just don't know. You just don't seem to have the musical beat there on playing these instruments. And you sure?" He said, "I think you just kind of want a trip." I said, "No, sir." So they come up with one more. They come up with now get this one. They come up with one called I don't
Flute?
know if I remember it. It was the one where you take your little, the little soft, looks like a kind of got a little ball on the end of it, and you beat it on what is it, a xylophone,
Yeah.
something like that. And
And you couldn't do
I
that?
played that, and he said, "No, can't do it." And so he gave me cymbals, and we went out to march, and we were marching, and I blew it with cymbals. So he said, "I tell you what, you're kicked out of the band." He
Yeah.
said, I think you are what we call tone deaf." So
And now
I,
instead of playing cymbals, you are a sex symbol, Jerry Short.
I had to change to become something.
Mm.
And if I'd have had this hat, then might have failed there also. Not that I didn't fail there anyway.
Like I said, you may not have been able to play cymbals when you were in high school, but you're a symbol now, I guess a sex symbol wearing that hat. Jerry, you're trying to dodge my question. And my question
What was
was
that?
about shoes. That's a subject I don't think we've ever talked about. Have you ever had a pair of shoes that meant something extra special to you?
If I ever had a what running
A
mate?
pair of shoes
Pair of shoes.
that meant something really special to you.
Well,
I know Loretta
yeah,
Lynn in her
yeah.
song Coal Miner's Daughter sang about how they only got a new pair of shoes once a year at Christmas time. Hopefully the Short household wasn't quite that bad.
No, I had sandals and Converse tennis shoes, and then I had Buster Browns, and no, I always had penny loafers when I was pretty young, but that was kind of like a trademark, like his hat. I wore penny loafers. Never did wear boots real well. I don't know what it was about boots. I'd even work in the field with tennis shoes on. I worked in the woods cruising timber with tennis shoes, although I was supposed to have boots with steel toes in them. I worked anywhere I could. I would not put a boot on. And I don't know, boots just never were comfortable on me. But yeah, I've had some shoes that penny loafer or two. I had some moccasins one time, and probably the proudest I ever had. I might have bought those moccasins the same time I bought that cowboy hat, Wichita Falls, Texas. So I fixed up in the Indian lore.
Okay. I thought that you'd for sure be a boot man, especially like a working boot type guy.
I'm not, and I've had that put on me a lot of times with different jobs where it's kind of required that you have a steel toe boot. I have never had a steel toe boot in my life. I've had one, but I've never worn one. It hurt my toes. My feet are a little wide. I'm about a three wide E, triple E, maybe even a four if I can get one. So I think that's got something to do with that pointed boot.
Hmm.
It just now I did buy some Roy Rogers boots, like in the fourth or fifth grade, and you pull those up and wear Roy Rogers on them, to school and things like that. It would be a. I did. I said I bought. They were probably purchased for me by someone, but yeah, that'd be about my only boot would be a Roy Rogers type boot, or Gene Autry, whoever was popular at the time.
Jerry, you're a child of the 50s and 60s, and there,
Child of the 50s.
yeah, 50s and 60s is what I said. And I know that you may have, evidently, based on what you just told us, you were in the upper echelon of kids. You must have been given everything you wanted growing up. But a lot of kids, I assume that you went to school, may not have had it so easy. And the idea of having a nice pair of shoes was not something that was easy for everybody.
That's true. I had a good friend, and everybody laughed at him, said he wore brogans, and they were just old work boots with laces that you
Hmm.
wrap the leather string around the hooks, and they go up above your ankle, and call them brogans or something like that. But my daddy always wore boots.
Like what type of
I
boot?
mean, always, not
Cowboy,
cowboy boots,
cow,
work boots.
work boot. Okay,
Yeah, work boots on the farm.
okay.
And I just wasn't a boot guy. And now tennis shoes and penny loafers, you got me there now. I wore penny loafers probably till I was 40 before I got frostbitten feet.
But you probably, like me, you probably don't have dozens of shoes in your closet, right?
Now, I tell you, the only kind of shoe I used to run a lot, wouldn't know it by my size, but I used to run 10Ks a lot and go around doing that. and then I would run every night, make sure I'd run. So I bought New Balance. They had the first $100 running shoe, but I took that. I subscribed to the Runner's Magazine. So I finally scraped up $100, and I bought one of those shoes. Now this is in the '70s. I was married, but $100 is hard to come by, and I use those to run, and I've never had any tennis shoe since that day, uh, except a New Balance. That is the only tennis shoe I'll wear is a New Balance,
Hey,
and to me, it's the best shoe. Plus, they don't throw a lot of money at advertising to athletes that are making plenty of money anyway. So I figured let's go with New Balance, even though they're made in England. Okay, and that's kind of been my deal with shoes.
okay. Well, I'm glad
And
glad we brought it up. I've got to ask you though, as we're talking with Jerry Short, this is the Y'all Show. Talk with a Southern accent with your host John Rawl, and as our Toccopola storyteller has reminisced about his own shoe background, and I've thrown out my 1 cent of knowledge. Jerry, you and I have something in common, and that is
what's that?
we're fellas, okay? And us fellas,
We're what?
we're fellows, we're guys.
That's right.
And guys usually don't have dozens and dozens of shoes in their closet. But I know you've been around women in your life, and there's something about women, God bless them, but they have an attraction to shoes, and they got to have a lot of them. At least that's been my experience.
They do. They do. They definitely do.
And you're allowed to
And
elaborate on your end.
well, yeah, I've had three wives, and the one I've married to now that can't get out of the Philippines because of this virus still got her locked down. She's pretty she's pretty good about not having too many shoes, but I had one time that
But before
uh,
before we leave current wife from the Philippines, of course, it was
let's
a
say a middle wife maybe.
okay. It was the
And
Philippines that brought
she
us the most famous case of a woman with shoes. Imelda Marcos had
oh, absolutely.
probably
Absolutely.
houses full
And
of shoes.
they kind of laugh at her over there about her shoes. Of course, her husband was kind of like a dictator, and kind of like I think he was
Yeah,
for about 20 years. That's what when you run 20 years of running a country, you pretty much a dictator. But yeah, Ms. Marcus did wear quite a few shoes, and she was famous for that.
yep.
And but my wife uh, evidently didn't have Marcus money growing up, so she didn't wear that many. But she is proud of shoes, and but she prices them pretty good. She don't go for that name brand shoe big time unless it's on sale.
I
Thank
see.
goodness. And well, she makes her own money too, so she could buy whatever she wanted to buy, and I'd be proud for her. But she knows, and she'll buy me tennis shoes too, and she knows to buy me New Balance, and she knows to buy me a extra wide 4E if you can find one. And New Balance is about the only shoe you can find it that wide.
A 4E.
So anyway, we're not the biggest shoe family, John, and I may need to change hats again and raise my foot up and show you my New Balance shoe.
That's quite all right. We are wrapping up Shoe Talk with Jerry Short here on today's Y'all Show. Hey, stay where you are. When we come back, we're going to keep Jerry on. We got more excitement coming from Toccopola, USA, and wherever you are. We appreciate you listening and watching the show that's all about the South. This is Y'all. We'll be right back. And we're back on Y'all Talk with a Southern accent. Our friend Jerry Short is the Toccopola Storyteller as we close down this start of the week edition of the show that's all about the South. And we've been talking with Jerry Short in the previous segment about his footwear and perhaps some of the footwear that his ladies have had through the years. I get by, like Jerry, with a nice pair of tennis shoes. That usually does the trick for me. And then if I'm feeling a little adventurous, I'll slip on a pair of sort of dockers or whatever they're called, just a
There
little,
you go. Good shoe.
yeah, just something I can wear with a pair of shorts, whatever. But you won't
Kind of
find
like a
me.
penny loaf.
I won't spend more than $100 a year on shoes for sure. And usually my pair of shoes last a couple of years, and I'm perfectly happy with that. Jerry, I know that
Yes, sir.
you and I both have had to kind of spend for the last couple of weeks a lot of time to ourselves. How have you been doing from a stir crazy standpoint?
I'm gonna tell you. Uh, I thought I was gonna do pretty good. Started out okay, and night before last, I don't know. I couldn't stay awake. Went to sleep in the chair. Listened to XM radio. I then saw so much news. I probably put it on the Elvis channel 19 and listened to some Elvis music. But I went to sleep. Then I went and laid down. Then I woke up at about 1 o'clock, and I went and fried 4 eggs and throwed some grated cheese over them and ate that. And then I went and laid down again, and I didn't wake up till lunch, which was right at 12 o'clock almost, 11:30.
You lazy bum.
That's the first time in my life that I can remember ever having over 12 hours in a row. And I say in a row, that egg situation was somewhere in the middle there.
Hmm.
But there's another one. I've never been to bed before 10 o'clock, and that I can remember. And I've got a better memory than Vice President Biden has. He's struggling with 27 years right now.
Uh-huh.
So, I'm having to go back to 70 years on my stuff. But yeah, I know. I was listening to him talking about, my gosh, that's 27 years ago. And I'm thinking, 27, that's yesterday.
Hmm.
I mean, if you can't remember what happened 27 years ago, uh, you ask me questions every time we turn around. Uh, I hadn't had a Buster Brown shoe in 40 years, probably 45 or 50. They were mostly for real young kids. Converse, it kind of got out of style 50 years ago. So if I get questions and Mr. Biden is beside me, I'm going to call his attention to some things that he should remember.
Hmm.
And then I'm going to ask him why he don't remember 'em. I
Well,
got a good idea why he don't remember 'em, but I
Jerry,
want to know.
for having such a great memory, you know what we need to do here at the Y'all Show? We need to get you your own pair of Buster Brown and or the Converse All-Star shoes. How does that sound?
Boy, do they still make Buster Brown shoes?
I don't know.
There was a store, the oldest department store in the South, called Nelson's or Nielsen's, whichever one you want to call it. And they had a whole Buster Brown department downstairs. And that's where I'd get my Buster Brown shoes, downstairs of Nelson's, which they've used that in a movie.
Have they?
Uh, the gun in Betty Lou's handbag. Uh, she was trying to rob or do something at Nelson's department store in Oxford. But that's where I got my Buster Browns, and I would imagine back in that day and time, if you got a Buster Brown, you had to go to a department store like that or go to Memphis. And but they were the deal. They would advertise it on Ozzie and Harriet or Lone Ranger or some old TV show in the 50s. Get you a Buster Browns.
Yeah, I missed
And
those.
I
I'm
think,
sorry. But you mentioned staying up late, Jerry, and you mentioned Elvis a little bit while ago. I mean, based on your
yeah,
routine here in this coronavirus, I'm starting to wonder, are you trying to be the next Elvis? Elvis would stay up all night. He would eat meals at 4 in the morning like you did, and then he would sleep most of the daytime. Do you have
you
something
know,
in common with your cousin?
you're right. And when Elvis was even in the hospital, you could go by the Baptist hospital. It was about 12, 15 stories tall, and he would usually be on the top floor. And what they would do, they would take aluminum foil and put over all the windows to keep it in the daytime where it would be like night.
He would do that
And
when he
so
would
if
go
you
on
rode,
tour. When he would go to
yeah,
hotels,
if
he'd
you
do the
rode
same thing.
down Union and looked over at the Baptist hospital, which is it's been blown up and knocked down now. But Elvis, you'd know Elvis was sick or in the hospital because he was that way at night. He was up all night, and he put two shows on in a row at Vegas. Only wanted to do two long shows, and back then, and
And,
he'd do long ones,
and sometimes,
and then
Jerry,
he'd be fired
he
up.
did three shows on occasion
Yeah, sometime he did do three.
in one day.
You're right, and
Let me tell you about
he
Elvis.
go ahead. I want to hear it.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You're far more
No,
You're far more on the Elvis. By the way, before I forget, Jerry, I'm not sure if you had heard, and this is another question I want to ask you. Dick Grobe died about 2 weeks ago. He was the sort of head of Elvis's security for about 10 years and part of the
yeah,
Memphis Mafia. Again, Dick Grobe, who was very close to Elvis, as most of those people were, but he was sort of the head guy for security, and he passed away about 2 weeks ago. Any thoughts on Dick Grobe, Jerry?
huh? You know, it's not many left now.
No.
Since George Klein's gone and Red West is gone and he's gone. I guess he was friends with Wink Martindale, and you can even go back to it's another talk show host that he was kind of friends with. They may be. It's only about two people left really that were close to Elvis.
T.G. Shepard would
And
be one of them.
who?
T.G. Shepard.
Yeah, you're right. He was. And there's a few women left, and Margaret's still out there. And
Linda
that
Thompson.
lady that become a nun,
Hmm.
I believe she's still there. She did two movies with him. And Ann, well, that wasn't Ann. You may remember her name. She's a nun now in Massachusetts, I believe. But real pretty, cute little young girl. And but being from Toccopola, he did a show in Toccopola
No way.
uh, at the gymnasium, and he would go around. You know, when he first started doing those kind of shows, and I had a friend that was a disc jockey in Grenada, and I told you about this boy. He died, Brad Penix, not too awful long ago, and he's the one I tricked into riding that muscadine vine into that tree and hitting it head on
I need to know that
in
story.
the woods.
We'll come back to that one, but go ahead with the story about him and Elvis first.
Well, his daddy come home at night. His mama said Brad probably wasn't born because he was 12 years younger than I. But he said, "Man, I had to set up for a guy that did a show in Grenada tonight. That if he could make it, anybody can make it. It was the most pathetic thing I have ever had to listen to, and I can imagine it had probably been like me listening to blah blah blah. I'm not going to say, but then on tape, the radio guy in Water Valley, I heard the other day a tape where he said he went to Memphis to get Elvis to perform at the fairgrounds in Water Valley, and Elvis said, "Well, it's going to take $150." He says, "I need and a bus ticket from Memphis to Water Valley." And he said, three bus tickets for Scotty Moore and who's the other guy?
The
Drummer.
bassist.
Yeah, I knew you knew. And just checking on you.
I don't
And
know his name. I think it might have been Bill.
uh, Bill Black.
Is that right?
It was Bill Black
Okay.
and Scotty Moore. So anyway, he they come up. He would come back to the Chamber of Commerce in Water Valley. And boy, they wanted to get Elvis. He had just coming out, going to these little old places like that, putting on a show. And they could not come up with $150 in two bus tickets. They come up with $100, and Elvis said, "No, I want Scotty and Bill to get the same. I want them to get $50 each, and then I want 75, and then I want the bus tickets." And they could not afford Elvis Presley
That
at that price.
that
So
is
times have definitely changed.
Yeah, times have changed, Jerry, and I don't know how in the world they couldn't afford $150. And in case you don't know where Water Valley is compared to where Memphis is, it's about an hour and a half drive, maybe even
Yeah, it's
close
not
to
much of a bus ride.
2 hours back in the day if you had to go down some winding roads. Not too many interstate choices in
Well, let's
1956.
see. The interstate wasn't built, and you went 51. Then you had to come across to Oxford
Hmm.
because that was a gravel road cut through there,
Yeah.
and then come down. So you had about 40, 80, you had about 100 miles
Okay.
one way,
But about a 2 hour
going that
drive.
way.
It's a quicker
Yeah.
time today. There's a interstate that takes you right into Memphis, but you still got to go about 30 minutes of back roads. Not
Yeah, that opened
exactly.
in 1960.
It didn't require him to stay overnight. Essentially, is what we're trying to
Yeah,
say. He could go to
that's
Water Valley,
that's true.
turn around.
But
Not that you'd
there's
want
been
to
a
stay
lot of
there.
those little places that he performed that you go by, and I don't know why they don't have a sign like George Washington slept here. They should have some that said Elvis performed here. There's a little old place out by my farm called Big Creek.
Hmm.
It's just a little settlement between Calhoun City and Grenada, and he performed there. And I guess they was able to come up. Some of those farmers must have chipped in to have a show. So you just never know. He did that show in '57 in Tupelo,
Hmm.
Welcome Home Elvis deal.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, that is the only recording. Anytime you see Elvis performing in that black velvet looking outfit, he's outside on the stage at the Tupelo Fair. And that is the only outside footage that you can find of Elvis Presley performing outside, unless somebody would dig some up of a shell in Memphis at the zoo
Jerry,
area.
let me Elvis eyes here and show my Elvis knowledge. You're going to help me. You're going to have to help me out with I think it might have been Steve Allen, but Elvis, he actually went out to California right around that same time, 1956, and he performed in San Diego on the deck of an aircraft carrier. And
Now he did do that, and
that
he
was
also did.
televised. It wasn't a full concert, but he did perform on it might have been the
Yeah,
Steve Allen
he
show.
did a song or two.
Does
And
that somehow joggle a memory for you?
no, I knew that, but I meant like a full show.
Okay.
He wouldn't do it because the sound he didn't think was quality enough outside for the audience. And now he did one on the Arizona when he did the fundraiser for
Oh.
the Arizona and Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
He performed there, and but he didn't do much. I think it was about 4 songs, 5 songs, and then they had a concert inside also. But he wouldn't do one outside where he could have filled up a huge stadium. He would do a lot of them at these colleges.
Mm-hmm.
I know he did one at Alabama at Tuscaloosa. He did one at LSU at Baton Rouge. And the reason he wouldn't do one in Mississippi, we had a tax on entertainment that was elaborate.
Hmm.
And he wanted to do one. And Colonel Parker wouldn't let him because the tax was going to eat the profits up. So had a tornado that hit Macomb, Mississippi. And Elvis said, I'm going to do one for my home state. So he brought his orchestra and everything in about 1973 or 4. And he paid for every bit of it.
And I bet you
And
went
it was
to it.
$110,000 come out of his pocket.
I bet you went to it.
Absolutely. And I met him out at the airport when he landed at the Jackson airport. And he come out, got off. He didn't come down on the big Lisa Marie plane. He came on that little Learjet-looking plane.
Yeah.
And he landed, and he walked over to the fence, and he signed autographs. My wife got an autograph.
Oh.
And he walked right down the fence all the way till he got over to the car that was waiting to pick him up to take him on out to the Coliseum.
Fantastic
And,
Elvis memory for
I
my.
also went to another one down there, and the price for it was $12.50.
Gosh, pretty good
That
bargain.
was about 74. And I know a friend of mine, well, he's the same guy I mentioned a while ago. We waited in line all night, all day, and the next day I got seats behind him on the top row. That's where a friend of mine had them. And he said, I'd have never in this world give $12.50 for a concert with Elvis Presley. Like that was just astronomical. I, I saw the Beatles in Memphis, and I think it was $25, but that was a little bit. No, it was in the '60s.
Hmm.
So anyway, of course, there's four of them had to split the money, right?
Sure, sure. Jerry, before we get out of here with you today, we got to go back to our muscadine vine conversation with the guy you were mentioning before. The muscadine vine.
Oh, when he come down the
Yeah.
yeah. I've told that before. You want me to tell it again?
Sure. Gotta make it quick though.
We cruised timber together in the woods, and you have to run a straight line on an azimuth, and you can't deviate, and you take a plot ever so often. But we got to this deep gully, and I saw this muscadine vine, hanging off of a big oak tree, and I told Brad, I said, Brad, I tell you, let's swing across this like Tarzan. And of course, I was younger then. I was more like Tarzan than I am now, and more like I don't know who now. But I went on, and I knew if I swung way out to my left, I could clear it because the vine would clear, and I cut on the bank on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Then I threw it back to him, and then I look up, and here he comes. He gets a running start and grabs that dang muscadine vine, and he's coming straight for that oak tree. And that was about a 40-inch diameter oak tree. And he didn't move left, right. He dead centered it. And I think it like to knocked him out. I had to get him out of the ditch. And he was pretty deep down in that dang ditch where the tree was coming out of. So, you can lead a horse to water. Sometimes you can make him drink. And, not as good as Jerry Clower with Marcel or somebody, getting a chainsaw out and going, it's a lot easier to just fool the son of a gun and let him hit the tree.
That's a good memory. Jerry Short, thank you for the memories. We hope the memories keep on coming from you. And you have yourself a good week. And one of these days, we're going to have to sit here and hang out again like we used to do way back in the early part of 2020.
Sounds like a good deal. I can get out from behind these bars. All right.
We like that idea. Jerry Short, everybody. And that will conclude our Y'all Show today. Thank you very much. We've got an action-packed Tuesday Y'all Show coming your way. You don't want to miss out on the fun. Of course, go to our website, YALL.com. That's y'all.com. It's the ultimate guide to the South to be able to watch this show in its entirety, the conversation we just had with Jerry Short, and for all the incredible, incredible stuff that gets put on y'all.com each and every day. Check it out, y'all.com. Until we see you again on the Tuesday show, y'all have a very good rest of your day, and thanks for being a part of Y'all.